Floridian Mythologies. Pedro's Old Bull by David Sawyer. All of the fruit pickers, the children and the adults, remembered Pedro and his bull. And fruit pickers and cowboys as far up around Tallahassee would tell stories about Pedro with his bull. Pedro, as well as Toro Viejo. That was the old bull's name, Old Bull. Toro Viejo was beloved by nuns and priests and local spectators on their ways to Mass. But that old bull was equally beloved by Pedro. Pedro, the equally loving, mysterious, gentle giant, like one of the Nephilim from the book of Genesis, though gentle. But Pedro, he took pride in the Longhorn mayhem or the stigmas by the Basorda Blanca or rednecks. And that was frightening, walking the path next to men that wanted to see that. Piece of shit bull. We should just cut his ass up into small steaks. Everyone knew Pedro because he was also the local wheeled kiosk ice cream man for all of the fruit pickers. Did he serve the white man? Yes, he did on occasion, but there wasn't many en hombre blanco. But they would give him $1 or $2. They did if they were tourists. And being the charmed tourist with Pedro was also the same way local DeSoto County folk would be anyway. On the side of Pedro's ice cream kiosk was a painting he painted himself of Toro Viejo. And even when tourists would point their stubby little white fingers, they'd say, "Looky right there, honey, at that old bull. He sure is cute, ain't he? We should buy up plenty from him." Pedro took such pride in his business. He sold mostly to the fruit pickers, but he always dressed for success. He always wore a cowboy hat. Being the old vaquero with family history from Spain, that gave him his gumption, he thought, mostly to himself. His priest, Father Russell, is his only companion, bless his heart. Father Russell, he come from Ireland, years ago, said by Angie Sue Allen, the local hairdresser and gossip git galore, followed up by the Inquirer collector librarian, Sissy Lee. No, I didn't know that. Pedro was such a handsome man for a wetback. That's a shame too, Angie. Any local information in a small town can be located in 2 locations. Just 2, y'all. And depending on what kind of information or news you're digging up, the hairdresser or the post office secretary should, and sometimes shouldn't, be found with that local news. But always that information you get is as shiny as the top of the Vatican, or as boastfully heightened and made up and as high up as the Sistine Chapel. Most afternoons, after long days dealing with Basorda Blanca throwing more trash or whatever was in their hands, after most long days that ended or would end that way, Pedro would take Toro Viejo for a stroll around the town. Pedro also couldn't drive, so he always walked everywhere. He would go to a tavern for a glass of cerveza and maybe a water bucket for his Toro Viejo. A lot of troubles were made. Cerveza bottles were thrown by the rednecks, and mostly men. But one bottle once clipped Pedro across his forehead, and nothing could be done by the police, so he just got used to it. There was one verse in the Bible that comforted him when problems like that would happen. Matthew 5:39. But I say unto you that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. And that was Pedro's mantra. His daily chores of life were constantly backbreaking. And he did marry, as an even older man at that. But his Mariana loved and respected her Pedro and her Toro Viejo. I bet if heaven is like Pamplona, there was no rush for the three of them, but they ran up to heaven, the three of them, just a smiling together.